Okay, the recording started. Now tell me, any other questions are there before we get into the content? Do you have any questions? I think you asked the question already. I think even before people joined, we discussed about it. Anyway, so the same question, let me ask the other team. What is the difference between node and member? Anyone? Sridhar, can you please help us to understand? When we go for choosing the load balancing algorithm, we have an option least connections node, least connections member. Same way ratio member, ratio node. What's the difference? What's the difference between that node and member? Could you please explain us so that we will be able to understand? Hello, Sridhar, you're there? Okay. Correct. That is from the general perspective, from the pool's perspective, general terminology. Here, we are trying to configure a load balancing method. Within that load balancing method, we have the choice of saying, do the load balancing according to the ratio member, according to the ratio node. Now, what's the difference between ratio member and ratio node? How do you differentiate it? Okay, anyone else? Jackmar or Jaswant? You are asking or you are saying? Okay, okay. Jashwant, right? Jayakumar, you want to say anything else on that, in this part? Hmm. Hmm. Okay, now see, I have a couple of servers, right? So I call this as a node 1, node 1. I can have n number of nodes according to my infrastructure size, node 3 and node 4. Right, so these are all the nodes, the actual IP addresses. That's how we are identifying them. Then I'm creating something called pool 1. Within this pool 1, I'm referring the node along with the port number N1 80, N2 80, N3 80. Like this, I'm referring it. In pool 2, also I'm referring the same nodes. What I mean to say, the IP addresses are going to be referred over there also. N1 80, N2 80, N3 80. Is this possible or not? The same node or the same node can be referred in multiple pools along with the port number, the same port number. Is this possible or not? Can we do this? Okay. Now the point is, when I'm asking the load balancer, my LTM, my ADC, it is referring this pool in VS1, pool 1, right? The load balancing method is going to be ratio based on member, okay? Am I audible? Hello, am I audible? Oh, okay. Just now I'm hearing. As of now, I couldn't hear it. Okay. So now I'm just taking a virtual server 1. In that virtual server 1, I'm choosing the load balancing algorithm as a ratio based on the member and referring the pool called as pool 1. Same way, I'm having another virtual server VS2. In this, I'm referring pool 2 and the load balancing algorithm as a ratio based on the node. Now what happens? We know what is ratio. I'm not getting into that part. We know the ratio. Now when the request is coming into the ADC, assuming that VS1 is the virtual server 1 is the listener, it is going to be choosing pool 1 and then one of the server needs to be chosen. So the load balancing algorithm is ratio, and the ratio could have been configured under the node level, could have been configured under the member level. Right? So when ratio member is what my keyword, now ADC is going to be looking into the ratio configured under the member level, not under the node level. You getting my point? Do you understand what I'm saying? See, I have multiple nodes, okay? Node 1, node 2, node 3 and node 4. These nodes have been referred as a members inside the pools. I have pool 1 and pool 2. In pool 1 also the same node 1 with port number 80, node 2 with port number 80, node 3 with port number 80. In pool 2 also we are referring the same thing. Node 1, member 1 is nothing but node 1 port 80, node 2 port 80, node 3 port 80. So we have the same set of members in pool 1 as well as in pool 2. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay. Now here under the node level we are giving the ratio as what? 2, 3, 3 and 4. This is the ratio we have configured. Under the member level we have configured the ratio as 1, 2, 3. Here it is going to be 1, 3, 5. Assuming like this. This is how we have configured under the member level. Now the receiving request is identifying the listener as the virtual server 1. One of the member needs to be chosen according to the load balancing algorithm of ratio associated to the member under the pool 1. So I'm choosing the pool 1. According to the pool 1, the members having a different ratio of 1, 2, 3. Now the ratio which will be considered is configured under the member or configured under the node. Because we said that the ratio supposed to be considered configured under the member, we will do the member selection according to the ratios what has been configured under the member, not configured not configured under the node. Is that clear? Okay, now when the ADC receives the traffic from the external world and assuming that the virtual server 2 is the listener, now the pool 2 has to be pool 2 has been associated with virtual server 2. One of the member from the pool 2 needs to be identified. Now the load balancing is ratio based, but the ratio based on the node, not on the member level. Now I will look into the node level ratio and then I will distribute the load. Does it make sense? Okay, one more thing. Again I have the same set of servers. I have pool 1 and pool 2. The same members N1 colon 80, N2 colon 80, N3 colon 80. Here also N1 colon 80, N2 colon 80 and N3 colon 80. Now I'm just talking about the least connection member and least connection node. Can you please tell me now how this is going to be working? VS1 least connection member, VS2 least connection node. Yes, just one, please. No, it is not ratio now. This is least connection. We changed the load balancing method from ratio to least connection now. Against the pool 1. Yes, pool members. Now let's assume that in pool 1 we have connection 20 as of now, 30 and 40. Okay, whereas under the pool 2 we have the number of connections as 10, 20 and 10. Okay, now tell me, when virtual server 1 receives the traffic, which of the server will be chosen? This is the current status. 20, 30, 40 is there. Let's say here this is 30, this is 20 and this is 10. Okay, this will be equal run. Okay, wait, there is a small confusion here. Let me call this as, it's going to be 40, 10 plus 1, 30. Okay, now this is the condition, 10, 20, 10. Now virtual server 1 is receiving the traffic. Now which of the server will be chosen? Node 1 or node member 1 or member 2 or member 3? Why? Because according to the least connection, member 1 has the least number of connections. So the next connection will be forwarded only to the member 1. Now virtual server 2 is receiving the connection. To which of the server it will be chosen? To which of the member it will be sent to? Okay, according to that, which one will be sent? So now member 1 it is 20 plus 1, 20 plus 10, whereas member 2 will be 30 plus 20, member 3 will be 10 plus 40. So this is going to be 30, this is going to be 50 and this is also going to be 50. Obviously node 1 will be chosen. Am I right? You understand what I'm saying? So the same node can be part of multiple pools as a member. If the load balancing algorithm is X based on the member, the data on that particular member within the pool will be considered. If it is going to be node, then obviously it could be, the node could be part of multiple pool. As a consolidate, so cumulative value, the analysis will be happening. You understand what I'm saying? Does it make sense? Yes, Mahesh. Is listening on FTP. Okay. Correct. It will consider, yes. Yes. No. Yes, Ashwin. Round robin. See, if I have pool member 1 and pool member 2 has 100 connections, whatever the load balancing, it's a least connection or whatever it is. Now what happens now? Both of them are equally loaded. Obviously the load is going to be distributed equally. You may claim that this will continue as a load round robin. Obviously no, because not every connection is going to be sustaining for the same period amount of time. Right, some of the connection could be lost. Somebody might be closing the connection. By that time you can see the differences. See, when you see from 10-20 connections perspective, it may look odd, but if you see from 10,000 20,000 connections, obviously some connections will be dropped, new connections will be established. You understand? So as the number of connection increases, the lifetime of the connection is also going to be considered, right? So as the connections are getting dropped out, the load on that particular server is going to be reduced. So that data will also be taken into consideration. You're getting my point? Okay. Yes, mostly, but when it comes to predictive and all, it is not the case. It's a trend, right? It's a trend. Whenever there is a tie, the choice is round robin only, if you feel like that. Right? Okay. Now, so if there is any question, please ask me. If not, we will move on to the next topic. I believe there are no questions. Let me try to open up. I'm sorry. The presentation. Where is the presentation? Here it is. Now, one of quite interesting part, of course, you have a dedicated training program on iRules. Now, before we get into the iRules, since we people are quite familiar with Cisco, how many of you have worked on EEM? How many of you worked on EEM? How many of you have worked on ARMON? You heard about anything called as TCL? Okay. Not TCS, Tata Communication Limited is also there, I agree. But is there anything you remember with respect to networking, TCL, or people used to call this as TICL? That is ROMON. This is ARMON. Like people, we used to talk about Robo, no? People immediately talk about Rajinikanth, but it is different, right? This is nothing but remote office, branch office. Most of the time I hear people when we are talking about Robo 2 was not good, sir. That's how they used to say. Okay. Yeah, Chitti. Right, so this is ARMON. Okay, ARMON, EEM and TCL. Anybody worked on it? Okay, now let me expand it. Embedded Event Manager or Embedded Event Management, Remote Monitoring or Resource Monitoring, TCL, Tool Command Language. Okay, so Embedded Event Management, actually speaking, for example, you guys are quite comfortable with BGP also, right? You guys worked on BGP and all. I hope so. Am I right? Can you please tell me what is dampening and how it works? Any idea? Dampening, deny any traffic. I think Jashwant, I lost you. I'm sorry. Yes. Okay, how it is going to be removed? Based on what it is going to be removed? See, we are going to be monitoring the status of an interface, right? If the interface is flapping at a frequent interval, some weightage is going to be given, right? The weightage, I'm just giving you an example, not exactly the dampening, right? So the dampening values 10 is what I'm going to be incrementing. I will say that once the value reaches 40, dampen this interface. That means the moment it reaches the 40 value, the link is going to be dampened. How do I reach 40? I would have mentioned the interval. In this interval, if you see that the status of the interface is flapping, then you have to increment by 10 at every time it flaps. So once it flaps, I will add 10, I will add 10. Once it reaches the threshold of 40, the link is going to be dampened. Then when it gets activated, if the link is stable for a period of time, then I will do divided by 2. Then again, if it is stable for further more interval, then the value will be divided by 2. Then reactivating interval is going to be 10. Once the dampened value reaches 10, undampening is going to be happening. So something is happening, an event is happening. Based on the event, some value is being associated to an interface. You understand what I'm saying? Hello? Okay, the same thing is what happening in Armon and embedded event management as well. See, if your CPU threshold goes 65%, what is that I have to do? In case of an Armon, that's what if an interface goes down, what is that I have to do? So, if any event occurs, what is that I wanted to do can be written as a script within your Cisco devices. That's where embedded event management, Armon, and the TCL comes into picture. So the language what we use in scripting is what we call it as a TCL. If you're familiar with the Python, the scripting is going to be a little bit identical for you. Okay. Now, why I'm talking about EM, Armon, and TCL within your FI? Because iRule is also kind of a script, right? The scripting language is going to be used within your FI to manipulate the behavior of certain things. Now, so basically, iRule is going to be a kind of a condition. We can say that when this happens, if these parameters are matching, then do this. That's how the iRule has been constructed. So we have a status, right? When this happens, and then we have an if condition. If this is what you are seeing it, then do this. That's where the when, if, then condition comes into picture in iRule. So there is the default behavior of your, what is it called, FI, right? The ADC, when the traffic has been received, depending on the virtual server chosen, depending on the load balancing method associated, and one of the member from the pool is going to be chosen. While the traffic is being sent out via an interface, the destination IP address is going to be translated. If SNAT has been configured, then obviously the source address will also be translated before I send it to the actual destination server. This is the normal behavior, right? But now we wanted to take control on it. When this happens, let's say that when HTTP request comes in, look into this set of information. Then if this matches based on my condition, then obviously you can also make something to happen. That's where the iRules comes into picture. Now let's see the presentation. You got the point what iRule is? Now we'll get into the detail of it. What is the purpose of iRule? We wanted to manipulate the behavior of your FI with respect to handling the traffic. It has a default behavior. You wanted to do it. Let me tell you. Can you please tell me the meaning of route maps? Why we are doing the route maps? Exactly the same we are doing with iRule. See, the routing protocols, when you establish the neighborship, they are going to be exchanging some sort of information based on the parameters, right? If you wanted to take control of that exchange, what we normally do, we will do a route map. So route map helps us to identify something when BGP is sending an update, or when BGP is receiving an update. Try to match this prefix. If the prefix is so and so, or you can match anything. I'm just taking an example. If the prefix is so and so, then do the change according to my expectation. This is what we do with the route maps, right? The same logic applies within your FI ADC as well. Basically, what we are trying to do is we are trying to identify something happens. When something happens, identify if this is the parameter you are looking into, then do this kind of a management, or do handle the traffic accordingly. You can do this kind of a conditions with the help of iRules within your FI ADC. iRule is so powerful. At the same time, it is also little complex. Now we are not going to be getting into the nuances of your iRules. No, we are not going to be doing that one. A basic understanding of iRule is what the scope of our content. Now, let's see this one. Can I direct traffic to a different pool or node from a virtual server? See, we have a virtual server. That virtual server is pointing to pool 1. But for certain condition, right? So we have a condition, no? If the traffic is coming from a specific IP address or a specific network, only for them, even though they requested to access this particular pool, but I wanted them to redirect it to a different pool altogether. Yesterday there was a question from Mahesh. What is that? How many pools can be associated with a virtual server? How many pools can be associated, Mahesh? Now can you please tell me? Okay. Now how come the request can be forwarded to a different pool? Now we know the flow, right? So when ADC receives the traffic on the external interface, it will match the virtual server. Once a match found, the associated pool is what going to be used for distributing the load. But my requirement is all the way, if the request is coming from a specific network or a specific host, to be redirected to a different server altogether, different pool altogether. Can I do that one? Yes, I can do that. How do I do it? Through the help of iRules. Consider we have partners, customers and trainers need to access different content. Then what do we do? So the URL is going to be the same. See, intranet portal and internet portal, right? So intranet portal and internet portal, both of them are using the same URL, okay? But if the request is coming from my branch offices, it has to be forwarded to intranet portal. If the request is coming from the public general internet, then the request needs to be forwarded to the public internet portal. How do I do it? I can identify the request is coming from a specific IP address or network, then the request is going to be forwarded to my intranet portal. I can do that one. So intranet portal is a different pool, internet portal is a different pool. I would have associated the internet pool with a virtual server where the virtual server listener is the fully qualified domain name of atos.com. The request is coming in. Now, since the request is coming from my partners or coming from my branch office, I could redirect the request to a different pool pointing to my intranet portal. I could do that one. Yes, that's possible. Now, does a single word redirect a big URL? Could be possible. Does it have an effect on our load balancing? You can do that one also. See, let me tell you, for example, I'm just going back to my whiteboard. What is my whiteboard? Let's take a case. I have my servers. Is it? Oh my God. Give me a minute. Let me stop. Is that visible now? Yeah, it's visible. Yeah, I'm seeing on my phone. Now I have multiple nodes. Now I'm creating a pool. Pool 1, let's call this as member 1 80, member 2 80. Like this I go member 10 and 80. The load balancing algorithm is going to be my round robin. Let it be round robin. Okay. Now how the load is going to be distributed? Equally to each and every server. Do you understand what I'm saying? Now, along with that, am I audible, guys? Okay. Now, I'm trying to take the help of priority group activation. Let me move from round robin to ratio so that it will be easy more. Anyway, could be with that also. Now, priority group activation, I'm associating the priority values like what? 2, like this I'm associating. Now, priority group says that less than 3 servers. Now say priority group activated if less than 3. What do you mean by that less than 3? So minimum of 3 servers, 3 members should be there. If I'm reducing, means if there are a couple of servers down and the total number of members I have less than 3 to distribute the load, then one more member or 2 or more members can be added to the pool, correct? They are all going to be considered as a backup. Even though they are part of the pool, they were not being used for handling the traffic. Am I right? That's how we understood the priority group activation. Until the required number of members are there to handle the load, the backup members are not going to be used at all. Am I right? Okay. Now I have a specific request. The traffic is coming from a specific network. Now only for them, the request needs to be forwarded to the member who has a priority group of 2 or 3. Can I do that one? Even though they are not going to be used for balancing the load, distributing the load, handling the load, but still I have a condition that if the request is coming from this particular network, I just wanted to hand over the traffic to a member. I can identify to this server you have to send it. Yes, I can do that one. So that's the point we are trying to make it here on the presentation. See, does it have an effect on our load balancing? Yes, you can do that. You can do that one. So by default, it is going to be choosing the members which are matching the condition with a higher level of priority. If something goes wrong, only then the backup member is going to be chosen. But still, if I have to take control on that, I can do that through the help of iRules. Does it make sense? Okay. So for all of this, you have iRules. Now, in this presentation, what is that we are going to be understanding? First of all, the concept of iRules, the components like when, if, then, what and all the parameter. Sorry. Oh my God. Is that visible now? Yeah. So we are going to be understanding the concepts of iRule, the different components which is there part of your iRule creation, like when, if, and then the syntax and best practices followed in writing a rule, and then we are going to be seeing a demonstration of configuring an iRule as well. Just now I have explained you what is that iRule. iRule is a script that can intelligently process and direct the network traffic through the big IP. Now, without iRule, don't you think that the traffic can be forwarded intelligently? Yes, it can. The ADC is capable of doing it. But we wanted to take some control. We wanted to manipulate the traffic. That's the reason we are taking the help of, the iRules. So basically what the iRule can do is each and every stage the big IP can look into it. If certain conditions are matching, then the traffic can be handled according to the instructions given. So iRule can examine the traffic between client and servers and use the information it finds to change the traffic flow, right? So I'm getting the traffic from a specific network, then it can be redirected to a specific server. I can do that, or specific pool. Yes, I can do that one. Even though you have associated a pool to a virtual server. Now I think you could understand the meaning of simply having a pool, and instead we have a default pool while we are associating. What is the default pool? If there is no condition, use this pool. If you have a condition to redirect it to a different pool altogether, do accordingly. Right? So iRule can direct traffic to a specific pools as well as to an individual pool members, including port members and URI path. What is URI? What stands for URI? How do you differentiate that from URL? Uniform Resource Identifier or information. That's what we call it as a URI. Host information plus the rest of the port numbers and the details together, we call it as URI. URL is a fully qualified domain name. You understand what I'm saying? Okay, so whatever you do with the help of whatever you wanted to achieve, whatever you are expecting to do on the received traffic based on certain conditions, you can do that through the help of your iRule. iRule can also be used to implement the persistence. We know what is persistence, right? We know what is persistence, am I right or not? Okay, right. So we know already iRule are based on TCL, but exactly not the same syntax. But it is a kind of a TCL commands. We can use it within your iRule to configure a rule. In addition, iRule have a set of robust expressions specific to big IP. Of course, it is using a TCL format, but the expressions, the conditions, which are going to be a little bit extra when it comes to F5. So the complete control on inbound and outbound application traffic through the help of iRule. We can do that. Let's see how this is going to be working. See, an example of iRule is given below. Can you see this rule name is test and production traffic. There is a condition given. So when client accepted, what do you mean by client accepted? The client accepted is nothing but the three-way handshake process is completed. Now, how do I know about each and every when status? Wait, I think it got stuck. Let me open up once again. I'm just sharing my screen now. I don't know what is going on. Yeah. Can you see my screen now? Okay. Can you see that the iRule events, how many events are there? each and every event is going to be focusing on something. Let's see this client accepted. What is that client accepted? You can see, you can read and understand what is this. See, for TCP connection, this happens when the three-way handshake successfully completes for a standard virtual server. Do you understand? So this status says if the three-way handshake process is completed against the virtual server, the normal procedure, standard virtual server, how it works in a full proxy mode, you have a three-way handshake process being terminated on the server. Same way, one more three-way handshake process is going to be established from F5 to the actual server, right? So that's how they are going to be behaving. So when this three-way handshake process completes, then we call it as what? Client accepted. Then what would be the status if the three-way handshake process completed against the server? See, we have two different connections, right? F5 sits between the client and server. A connection between the client and LTM is going to be established. A connection between the LTM and your server is going to be established. When I say client accepted, we are identifying that the communication, the connection from the client to the LTM got created. If the connection between the LTM and server has been initialized, then what would be the status? Now I'll go back to the events, then see that, and then do let me know what would be that. Can you please tell me by seeing the status messages, which one could be the Okay, I understand the complications are there, but you have to spend a lot of time in each and every status messages to understand what is the meaning of each and every status, right? So according to this, the condition what I have chosen here on the example rule, hope this is visible, my presentation is visible now. Okay. Now, what it says that the name of the rule given as test and production traffic, prod traffic, I'm saying what? When client accepted. What do you mean by client accepted? The moment the three-way handshake process has been created, initialized between the client and the LTM device, if the IP remote address starts with 10.10, the remaining can be anything, starts with, ends with, these are all the expressions, we can add those expressions. Now when it starts with 10.10, what do you mean by that? Starts with 10.10, that means the first two octets are 10.10, then the pool is going to be used as testing. If it is not matching, then send it to production. Do you understand the script now? Can you see this? Any clarification required on this script? What the script has been created now? Okay. So what we have is, we have a test, the name of the rule, and then the when, if, and then. This is how the rule is going to be configured. See this? Internal network, we have a condition. See, we have pool training and we also have pool production, right? We have pool training, we have pool production. Now the internal network will be redirected to pool training, whereas we have separate, we have 10.10, 20.1 and 20.2. That request needs to be forwarded to training. 10.20.20.1, if the request is coming from that IP, it has to be forwarded to the production. And same way, external clients should also be connected to production only, not to the training. Now, how do you do this one? I can identify the source or destination IP address. I can identify them using the protocol value and number of packets or bytes which are sent or received. You can match anything. You can match anything. And then, so you have to be proficient enough, understanding the application, what all the statuses, what information is going to be exchanged. Only then you can be very comfortable with iRule. Right? I can say string of an URL. You can say anything which is going to be called within your iRule. Now, iRules are event-driven scripting language. I already told you this one, right? So, as a traffic flows through the FA LTM, it is going to be passing through numerous key checkpoints or events. We have seen the number of events, right? How many events are there? There are so many. Each and every event is going to be representing a status of the message, right? Status of the connection. When that happens, you can match for something. If that match found, then you can handle the traffic. You can instruct the LTM to handle the traffic in a different manner. That's where the iRule comes into picture. See, client's SSL handshake, client accepted. This is what we are seeing. Authentication, success, HTTP. These are all the events. server closed, name resolved, persist down, client list. These are all the different. What is this? LB failed. If the load balancer failed, can you see them? I have shown you the different set of event messages already using a URL. Now this is part of my presentation. Do you understand what I'm saying here? Okay. Now the components of an I rule, first of all, you require a name and then an event, and then a condition and then an action. This is the structure of a rule. So we are giving a name for the rule and then we are identifying an event. We just now seen the number of events that you can refer. When that event happens and you would like to match something, or if you don't want to match something also, you can do it. That's a different story. We can say, I would like to put a specific condition. If the request is coming from this IP address, then I would like to redirect the traffic to a specific server. I can do that. This is how the I rule is going to be created. I think I have explained you already. Naming convention should be follow the TCL rules, must begin with a letter, no special characters or spaces. This is the structure of your I rule. Event means when you're naming an I rule, you have to follow this conditions. Events, we have many events. Just now we have seen, and you wanted to refer any of these events. First of all, try to understand what that event says. Now this is going to be HTTP request. You can also go for HTTP response. Now there is a spelling mistake here. Don't think that it's a client accepted. It is client accepted. Okay, it's a spelling mistake. Now condition, you're saying that if condition, and of course I can also take the help of the logical operators. What is that? And, or, not. Those operators can also be used. Then action, what is that you wanted to go for it? You would like to redirect to a specific pool, or you would like to redirect to a specific server, or redirect it to a specific port number. You can do anything. You can do anything you want. Right, see what happened, network activity. I rule event is going to be there. So SYN-ACK, what is the condition now? This is a client accepted. I have explained you, right? So when the three-way handshake process between the client and LTM happens, we call this as what? Client accepted. Then the data is going to be flowing. That's what the status called as what? Client data. Now HTTP request is follows then server is going to be selected, then the SYN-ACK is going to be established. Now you can see server connected status message. Guys, this is little important. You have to understand this. Now you can choose any of these events you want. You wanted to manipulate during the load balancing time. See, client data is going to be chosen. The server data is flowing through. HTTP response is going to be received from the server. You can choose any of these statuses, and then you can also manipulate the behavior. I already told you and, not, or. Relational operators can also be like contains. If the text is going to be so and so, URL contains so and so, ends with, starts with. We have seen starts with, right? Ends with, equals, right? We also can be going for what? Regex can also be used. Matches, regex. What is the regex? We know already. Regular expressions. Can do. These are all the relational operators, and you can also take the help of logical operators to combine multiple conditions, right? So query commands, I can query for this, right? Quest command search for the header and content data. An example of a query command is what? IP : remote _ address, which searches for and returns the remote IP address of a connection. So we can search for that IP address. I will show you an example while I'm doing the configuration, right? So I can go ahead and say on the HTTP header, I would like to remove something. The main purpose of I rule is what? To manipulate the behavior, how the traffic is going to be done. So I can also say the traffic needs to be forwarded to a specific pool. I can say pool, name of the pool. Right? So I can decode it. These are all the things that you just need to understand them. We will show you a small example of it. So this is the what is it called? The sample script we have seen. We are talking about if the remote address starts with 10.10, I would like to send it to pool testing, else it has to be sent to production. Right? Name of the rule, name of the event, this is the condition, and this is the action. How about now? The rule browser type is what? In HTTP request, when a HTTP request event occurs, under your header, if you see the user agent is MSIE, what is that? Microsoft Internet Explorer. Then pool is going to be IE pool. If the user agent is Mozilla, then pool is going to be MZ pool. If not, other browser pool. I have three different pools, right? If the request is coming from Internet Explorer, then the pool is going to be used as IE pool. If it is Mozilla, then it will be forwarded to MZ pool. If nothing is matching, then it will be forwarded to other browser pool. Do you understand the script now? Okay, so write the I rule that cover all condition. Please make sure that, like your route map, when you're creating it, we have to keep a last condition match all, right? So we will create that one. So catch all means if none of the route map statement is matching any of the prefixes, the implicit deny comes into picture. Now, if you wanted to identify the rest of the traffic and you wanted to permit them all together, then obviously you have to have a last statement in your route map as what? Match all. The same way, here also we just need to make sure that while we are creating the I rule, please make sure that all the conditions are matching. If not, only the traffic matching the conditions will be processed accordingly. If not, the traffic is not going to be matched. So you have to be sure about it, right? Okay, fine. Now let's see the sequence of configuring. We are creating a pool and then creating an I rule. Map the I rule to the virtual server, not to the pool. We are associating the rule to a virtual server. Right, so we are just going to be configuring an I rule using the config utility. And apart from that, there was an editor, I rule editor. There was a tool. Of course, now also it is available, but the enhancements, the development of the tool has been discontinued, called as I rule editor, that got discontinued since 2014. I think 2016 they had an update. Apart from that, there was no update at all. Now you can install this on a Windows machine, and then you can connect to your F5 devices from a central location. You will be able to push the scripts to all of the devices also. I think I'll be having the URL. I'll share it across. See, now what is happening? Can somebody tell me? The same syntax, whatever we have seen. On the received HTTP request, if you see the user agent as MSIE, then the request is going to be forwarded to IE pool. If you see Mozilla as the user agent, then the request is going to be forwarded to MZ pool. If not, if none of these two conditions are matching, then the request is going to be forwarded to a different pool named as other browser pool. Right? You had this I rule editor. You can download from Dev Central. I already told you this has been discontinued. The main benefit of is what? You have a lot of help associated to it, right? You can differentiate. You can see the difference of these curly braces and brackets, and you can also see the expressions in different color, right? This will help you a lot while you are creating it. Then it has to be associated with a virtual server. You have to go to the virtual server and then identify the rules, whatever has been created, map those rules. Please be sure that the rules are placed in correct order, because they're going to be processed in a sequential way only. Right, so this is how you will do it. If the pool is going to be chosen, and then this is where you take the help of it, manage, and then associate the, what is it called? The I rules. That's it. One more set of information, you can go to Dev Central and you will get a lot of things. And of course, there will be a lot of discussions with respect to creating an I rule for a specific requirement. There are certain ready-made templates also available under the Dev Central, but F5 is not taking any responsibility on the genuinity and the effect of the I rules, what is being published in public. Okay, now let's go to the lab part. Give me a minute. Just let me make sure that I'm sorry. I'm not sure. Normally, see, the documentation says it is, but in many of the cases it is not. According to the best practice, according to the documentation, you have to place the rules in proper order. Which rule is going to be processed first, you have to keep them first. Yes? Sorry, come again. Or okay, or all of the events are happening in network, or you said something. I couldn't hear that properly. Everything is based on the requirement only, right? Whether it is a network based or something like that. Everything is going to be based on the request only. Mozilla only. That is also Mozilla only. You have to check. If you want, I'll check this one. Yeah, sorry. Oh. Yeah, see, the thing is, remembering these things might be difficult for everyone. Yes, you can do that. Couple of browsers are having the same user agent. I think I have shared my screen. Is that visible? Oh, okay. Oh. Now, what is that I'm trying to do is, I'm just going to be creating. Now, first of all, there are so many things we can do it. First of all, I'm just going to the pool, and then, okay, I think I have disabled my priority group activation, correct? Let me go and say less than 2. Now, tell me which are all the 2 servers will be used for distributing the load. Is that visible for you? Or you want me to increase this font size? Now, according to this, can you please tell me ratio, or are we talking about the ratio here, the priority group activation? Based on what? I think Jashwant was saying something. Jashwant, or who was that? Gurucharan, yeah. So based on the priority what we have assigned here, for yellow is 7, for green it is 6. So because we are saying that minimum 2 servers should be handling the load, so yellow and green will be used for distributing the load, correct? Blue is not at all going to be used as long as the green and yellow is on operation, correct? Okay, now let me go and connect my client PC, but of course I have to connect this one back to, okay, and citizen. I wanted to connect this one to my net interface, and then I wanted to change the IP address as like earlier. 2.140, right? That's what the IP we had it. It will allow you to get connected to the external world. Instead of bridging, I'm just doing the NATing. Bridging means your physical network and your virtual machine will be in the same IP segment. Only then the bridging comes into picture. NAT in the sense the NAT device is going to be entirely different network, but it will allow you to communicate with the physical network also, though they are in different IP segment. Now let me check it out. IP config. Yes, 2 dot. Oh, what is IP? Why it is taking like this? I configured correct only, na? Change adapter settings. Two dot 140 only. That's what I have given. Sorry. Windows. Before we apply the rule, we just wanted to test it according to the priority group activation, everything is working or not. Then we can do the testings. Why still it is taking 169.254? Did I configure to receive the IP address via DHCP? I didn't do it. There's something wrong. Okay. 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 Now let me see my external interface configured with what? That's the problem. I have configured the same IP address. That was an IP conflict. That's the reason he was not picking up it. Anyway, so now I have 2.23. Now let me try to change the default gateway alone to 2.140. The rest of the things are okay. Now once I do this one and then try to access my 1.1.1.1, then I'll be in a position to see my green and yellow web servers, but not the blue. Right, green is coming up. Yellow is coming up. But blue is not going to be displayed. Oh, do I have a persistence as well? I don't think so. Green is coming up. Can you see them? Now green and blue is showing me, but blue is not coming up. Why? Because of my priority group activation. Now what I want to do is, if the traffic is coming from a specific IP address, then only the blue is going to be shown to them. Can we do that one? Yes, we can do that. I'm just getting into what? Let's go to this LTM and then go to the iRule section, then create an iRule. Now let's say the name of the rule is what? Client A to blue server. Just the name, whatever you want, you just give it. Now I just need to mention the condition, right? When, see, the syntax help is coming up. So always the condition is going to be client dash accepted, client accepted, and then opening the braces. Just this is the condition, right? When this event happens, when client is accepted, if, check it out, IP colon address. Can you see this? This is the help we are getting it earlier. ADDR. I'm not sure. It's not responding. I'm just checking the IP address field. Within that, I'm saying that if the IP address of, I think so, yes, the screen is stuck, I guess. For me also it got stuck. I lost the connectivity actually. My voice is audible, right? Okay. Confirm me that you're able to see my screen now. Right, so I'm saying that I'm interested in checking the IP address if the remote IP address, right? So this is the parameter. I'm checking it as what? Equals. The operator is equals. I'm checking the equals. I'm just very specific about the IP address, right? If equals 192.168.2.23, that's the IP, right? That's what I'm trying to do is close this bracket. Now this open bracket got closed and this open bracket box. Okay, I made a mistake. Now this is also got closed. Now this is going to be closed, curly braces, and then open another function. Now I'm just going to be using a pool, right? What is the name of the pool we have? You remember the name of the pool? Okay, let me open up this one in a different tab altogether. Let's check it out. What is the name of the pool? Atos Web. That is the name of the pool. Okay, Atos Web. The pool which I am going to be referring is Atos Web. Within that, I would like to refer the member. Which member I'm going to be referring? Blue server member. What is the blue server member's IP address? It is 10.1.1.11. Let me redirect to 10.1.1.11 on port number 80. Right? So this function closed. Else Now the condition is going to be pool at host web. If I don't do this one, then what will happen? Only the request from, no, I just wrote a script. If the IP address of the received packet says the IP address of 192.168.2.23, then the request needs to be forwarded to the pool called as Atos Web. Within that pool, there is a specific IP address called as 10.1.1.11, right, to the port number of 80. If this condition is not matching, then simply forward the traffic to the Atos Web pool according to the load balancing algorithm, whatever you have. However, the traffic needs to be forwarded. I'm just saving this one. If all the syntaxes are correct, only then the system will allow me to complete. If not, it will be throwing an error. Can you see that error? What is that error? It says error in the undefined procedure when client accepted. Okay, maybe the client underscore accepted. When client sorry, no, if will not be coming there. Now there is a condition, it's not the, okay, let me check the condition, the event over there on my browser. We have seen, right, the client accepted. Is there is anything? See, client underscore accepted, IP client underscore accepted. Okay, let me change that one to client underscore accepted. Let's see whether it is taking or not. Still the same thing. The client accept irrelevant triggered when a client has established the connection. Now that part is over. IP colon ADR. Give me a minute. Just stopping this recording so that